Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Sarzar Sabir from Allentown, New Jersey. I am very happy and glad to participate in TASMiNA's Horizon project. This is a continuation of an introduction series of TASMiNA from our community professionals, educators, entrepreneurs, community activists, etc., who have succeeded in their life in North America. The main objective of this program is to learn and follow the success of their achievements. This program can especially be useful for our young adults who can benefit from these life stories by seeking assistance and guidance from them. The title Horizon reflects a point of change in a person's life. And today I'm going to be interviewing Ifraz Illyas, who is a successful entrepreneur in New Jersey. Brother Ifraz, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sarzar. Thanks for interviewing me.
Of course. Thank you for being here. And I'm going to be conducting today's interview. I'm going to start off today by asking you a question. Can you give us an introduction of your childhood life in Sri Lanka, like your town, your parents, your education?
Sure. So, I'm proud to say that I was born in Sri Lanka. I was born in Kandy. Before, I even reached 1 year old, my mom and dad, they brought us to Colombo. So my entire teenage years, I grew up in Colombo, in Velavata, and loved Sri Lanka. Went to St. Peter's College till I was 14 years old. Enjoyed everything about Sri Lanka. Obviously I did everything in the English Sinhalese medium. I was quite an athlete as well in St. Peter's. I like to brag about that all the time. But I played sports there, and my childhood was really very short-lived in Sri Lanka, for the simple fact that my mom and dad, especially my father, who was a businessman that traveled from Sri Lanka to the U.S., I think almost 24 times or 25 times prior to bringing us here. So basically on the 25th or 26th time, he said, okay, we're going to pack up and we're going to go to the United States and we're going to start our life there. And that was in 1988 when I was 14 and my brother was 9.
Oh, wow. So you came here that long ago. So you've been in this country for quite a long time then. But for you, when you were younger, I'm sure you were old enough to realize, okay, I'm going to a whole new country and I'm going to have to assimilate to that country and, really camouflage yourself.
Yeah, camouflage is the best way to say it. To be honest with you, it was quite a pressure and a challenge, to be honest. Think about it. Imagine one morning you're doing everything in Sinhalese, math, every class except for maybe 20, 25, 30 minutes of English medium, where we just kind of, had one class in English, basically. And then all of a sudden, wake up next morning, you're in the US, and now you are, everything has to be in English. The math has to be done in English, writing, every essay, everything. And it was just, at 14 years old, at like 13 plus, almost 14, it was quite a challenging time, to say the least,
Yeah, especially when you're a teenager, it's got to be so overwhelming, right?
Absolutely. Forget about, studies wise, that was super overwhelming. It doesn't matter how intelligent a person is, right? If you bring them into a different language, basically, because it's really, English was our second language, or maybe even third, to be honest. And then all of a sudden, now do everything in English. It was quite challenging, for sure.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I know you said you moved to the U.S. in 1988?
Yeah, 1988. We moved to the U.S. mid-1988, yes.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So you were accompanied by your parents, and you came here with your family, and you started schooling here. What was your school experience like, besides the language barrier and everything like that? How far did you go in your education?
One of the reasons I, decided to do this, not only to talk about whatever little accomplishments I have done in my life, maybe, but more so to teach our generation that's coming now, the young generation, the importance of education, and more importantly, also to never give up. I was not a very good studious student. I mean, I wish I could tell you that I was a straight A's, and I was, I went to Columbia and then got my MBA from Princeton. But unfortunately, that's the exact opposite of my story. But there was a reason behind it, and I'm not trying to make an excuse for it. Since you asked me, when I came here, the experience, like I told you, all of a sudden you're displaced from doing everything in Sinhalese, and now you're doing everything in English. To make things worse, it was so tough with the kids and the teachers. Going back to 1988, 89, we didn't have this awareness of being bullied or teachers being held accountable to make sure the kids are protected. It was the exact opposite, to be honest. And I'm not trying to make an excuse for myself in why I wasn't a studious student, but like a very intelligent or very studious student. But the problem is, one of my teachers, for example, I think I've told this story to some of the kids, our young generation in our neighborhood, is that they used to pick on me just to read. That teacher used to, for example, this one teacher used to pick on me just to read so that the entire class could have a laugh. Especially in English. So it was kind of like, hey, let's laugh at Ifraz hour. And it was so, and now looking back at my age, I would probably say that one of the reasons why I wasn't as good in my schoolwork is because of that incident. Because every time he chose to make me read, I used to try to go into the bathroom and not come out for the entire class. And it was, looking back now, even though my memory is not that great, I remember every single thing that happened in that class. Who sat behind me, who sat to the right of me, who laughed, who didn't laugh. Like, the entire thing was very tough for me. And coming from another country, your parents, really, I don't want to blame them, but they were not really with the times, right? I mean, like, it was like they just came to this country. They're trying to make a living. They're trying to establish themselves. So me coming home, now I'm a teenager and giving like excuses like, oh, my teacher's being mean to me. In back then, it wasn't like, the parents don't take that as an excuse. If anything, they even get upset at you. Very different to today's world, Yeah,
it was more like everybody was out there for themselves, right? And you just didn't want to bring those problems home with you because, like you said, everybody was trying to assimilate and trying to blend in with the country, and so it was hard for everybody. I totally understand that. And
right.
And this was up till high school, right?
So this was, to believe it or not, this was in 8th grade. So when I came here, I was 13 plus. So I still haven't entered high school yet. So this was 8th grade. And just that few months in 8th grade was that entire, basically my foundation was set for my education. And I realized that it was going to be a tough road for me to move forward.
Yeah, no, I can't even imagine. I know that. So you went through middle school, and then you finished that, although it was tough, like you said. And then you went into high school. But did you find high school to be any easier? Were you able to blend in a little bit better in high school?
You know what? High school was a little easier because what I did was, as I said, I went towards like, being athletic and being good at sports, so that, the kids will be more, kind of like, bring me into their groups or be kind to me. So I kind of left the schoolwork behind, and I became more of a quote unquote trying to be popular, trying to assimilate and trying to be cool with the kids. So I became more of an athletic person than a studious person. So high school became a little easier. Obviously, then we started, as a teenager, then I started realizing, okay, this is how you dress. You're not supposed to wear dress pants to high school. You're supposed to wear jeans and t-shirts instead of wearing, or like your mom and dad got you like a long sleeve shirts with dress pants. So I started kind of figuring out those little things, which to be honest, and my brother will probably agree because he was only 8 or 9 at that time, helped him make it easy for him to kind of come up the road because he was already still young. So when he was going up to the 8th and 9th and high school, I kind of already set the standard for him in regards to not being picked on for those reasons.
Yeah, he could kind of follow in your footsteps.
Yeah. I mean, that was the key. I had to pay the price, I guess.
Absolutely. And so was it after high school? Is that when you started to engage in like the field of business?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the feel for business was from day one, because even as a young kid in Sri Lanka, my father was in the gym business. So I used to go with him and I accompany him to Beruwala and Ratnapura and all these different towns. And, he would buy stones, and something that was in my blood from day one. Business and sales was something in my blood from day one.
Absolutely.
But, so that's kind of how like the business world just came to me, everything that I did in my life was based on business. Whatever jobs that I had was very salesy jobs. Selling newspapers over the phone, or selling vacuum cleaners, Electrolux, door to door. In high school, made tremendous amount of money doing that, believe it or not, and doing everything else in between. But yeah, so sales was kind of like something that I truly enjoyed, and I enjoyed that mostly because of the fact that there was no real ceiling for how much money you could make. It was unlimited, and regardless, no matter what profession you work in, there's a set salary standard, right? IT, doctor, whatever. But when it comes to sales, it's kind of like, how well you perform is how much money you make. So that was one of the reasons I gravitated towards that.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, All the amount of work you put in is whatever you get out of it. So you get to kind of control your salary as long as you work hard, alhamdulillah. So what other, could you explain to the viewers like your current ventures and the success you may have found right now and what you're doing now?
I am in the finance field. My brother and I have been in the finance field for a long time. I was on Wall Street as a stockbroker, and kind of like, that kind of made the foundation for me to be successful. But my goal, like my success in business is more so, I'm always looking for that next opportunity. I'm sure you have heard of, even for example, my wife. We just started 4 years ago. We started a cafe. It's a small cafe, little hometown cafe, with just one employee, and my wife who loves baking. But my business sense never stops me from just being just a one-person little cafe. 4 years later, we have 26 employees, 3 different locations, and hoping to grow even more. Simply because that's my outlook is I always try to do things not to be arrogant or to show off. It's just that I don't understand the concept of doing it small, and it really doesn't make sense to do something small, right? Regardless if you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or even my son says, oh, okay, I want to be a doctor. Like, I can't see you just working for a hospital. Like my goal, if I ever became a doctor, which I know for a fact I can't, be my background, but with my age, I'm not the best in when it comes to books. But I expect like him to one day open up a practice, not just to work for a hospital or work for somebody else. Like, that's my outlook. So when Zay wanted to open up her cafe, like, even though she wanted to keep it small, and sometimes it's a blessing, sometimes it's a curse. I told her, I said, listen, we can't think small. We have to go big. And, with Allah's help, we are right now 3 stores, 26 employees. Will it work out? I don't know. But I leave no doubt behind where we put everything in it. And if it doesn't work out, at least we tried. And if it does work out, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, definitely. I think I also think that what you said about your son trying to be a doctor. I think that they say that doctors are businessmen too, right? So I'm sure he's going to learn a lot from you, and then inshallah we'll be able to expand that as well. I think what you're doing is you think big. Alhamdulillah. So you don't like to think small, and I think that's it's a great thing. It's a great thing to have.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, at least hopefully he takes that part of what we have, what he has seen, and hopefully he could get to the next. I mean, he already talks about it. He wants to be a pediatrician one day, if Allah blesses him to become a doctor, and he works hard. He wants to, open up his own practice. So we'll see. But time will tell.
Yeah, definitely, inshallah. Besides business and work and all of that, what would you say are your hobbies? Do you, I know, like, for example, sports activities. I think that you're a basketball coach, right?
Yeah. I mean, giving back to the community is something that's huge for me. For example, anyone could write a check, right? But especially living in America, being given the opportunities. 8 years I've been coaching basketball, and believe me when I tell you the satisfaction it brings me, it's unbelievable. When my son Zaki was in 3rd grade, I started coaching, and one of the players that I coached from 3rd grade all the way up to 8th grade, today signed a pro contract. One of the boys just signed a pro contract, and his grandfather sent me a note and said, Coach, they still call me Coach. They say, Coach, whatever you instilled at his 3rd grade is one of the reasons why he's who he is today. That itself is the ultimate compliment you could get. And, obviously the fact that he's also 6'10", it helps him. But the fact that I always try to put the love in the game, for me, like, after every season, the reason I knew that I'm doing a great job, I used to get gift certificates and presents from the parents, whereas other coaches probably didn't get anything. So my whole reason behind my hobbies is I love to play basketball. And when I realized that I can't go further in my sports, I wanted to teach basketball, coach basketball. But coaching, just not only to coach, but it's more so to also do it as a community service. The things that I teach these kids, not only is sports, it's about confidence. It's about things that were not really given to me or taken away from me. Giving every kid an opportunity, and not being one of those fathers that only play your son. To be honest with you, I feel bad for my 2 sons, because when I coach, they really don't get the preferential treatment. I prefer they're probably better off with somebody else's team. But my goal is, if you perform well, you play. If you don't, and if you don't practice hard, you don't play, regardless if you're my son or not. And that was the groundwork that I worked on, and honestly, it worked out. So it's one of my hobbies is coaching, and I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's a great story. I really like that, that ethic when it comes to coaching the children. Don't put your kids first. Whoever does good, plays good. So I like that. Now, when you talk about, like, social activities, like things that I know that you've engaged in, food pantry services, activities, president of TASMiNA even, and food delivery during COVID-19. Could you go into that a little bit?
Sure. It brings me great pleasure helping. And helping does not have to be, like I said earlier, money. Helping, honestly, time is the most important thing when it comes to helping. Doing food pantries and food distribution, and trying to get trucks so that at the time of COVID, we were able to help a lot of families eat. I mean, we're talking about thousands, so over 20,000 people probably ate the food that we distributed. And then being part of TASMiNA and, being part of the community organizations, all this for me is more so, you know, letting people know that, especially being Muslims in this country, right? Everyone thinks that we are so close-minded. We are not trying to help people out. We just try to help our own family members, and we kind of close ourselves to just us. And opening this up and letting people know that we are there to help, and it is a Muslim guy, and my wife is standing next to me with a hijab, and so that the whole stigma and the preconceived notions of people gets taken away. And that's one of the main reasons why I want to do this community service. Not only the fact that I get the pleasure of helping, also to let people know that we're just like everyone else. It doesn't matter if they're Muslim or Christian or Jewish. Every single person should be helped. And if the need is there and we are able to help, not just with money, time, sacrifice, maybe clothing drive or whatever it is, we do it, and that brings the community together, and kind of helps us do dawah work, to be honest with you. And that's the perfect way to do dawah work. At the end of the day, you do it by example, not by just talking about it, by action. And that's why I take pride in really helping out. And somebody calls me, and if I have the time and the energy, I'm going to help regardless if it's a Muslim or a non-Muslim, because at the end of the day, for me, we are helping humanity.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. They say it's not who you are, it's what you do that defines you, right? So when you actually put those actions into words, that's definitely way more important, and making a good example of Muslims in general. So, I really like that. I also agree with you on that. And, I have one more question for you. Lastly, I know you said that, you definitely, you wanted to advise the younger generation. What advice would you give to the younger generation today?
I mean, the advice that I'm going to leave to the young generation is very simple. At the end of the day, even though I stressed the fact that I was not a good student, the one thing that every single of our young generation should aspire to is to be a good student. We have so many opportunities for example, if I was given a wish, and the wish cannot be good health for the rest of my life, and money, my only wish would be is to go back to being a freshman in high school. Because every single thing that I did wrong, I would do right in sense of being a student. Because I truly, regardless, even if some people think that I have done okay, and I'm okay, successfully done some business ventures, and I have done well for myself, I regret and I wish that I could go back and fulfill the wish that I always had. And I wanted to be an attorney. I wanted to be a lawyer. And if I was given that wish, I would go back to studying hard, to getting into a good college, hopefully get a good scholarship, go to a good school, graduate with high honors, get into a good law school, graduate top on that class, and then become a very successful lawyer in the community. The key is, like I said, money is not what's driven who is successful and who's not. The key is to do something that you love, that you wake up every morning and make sure that you achieved whatever that Allah has given you, and more, to be honest with you. Like, you have to push yourself to that next limit. Our parents brought us here, and they were they were business people, right? And my brother and I now, we have to do something little better than what my parents did, and our kids should do way better than what we have done, right? I mean, that's the hope of every parent, is that your kids are doing something so much better than what you have accomplished. And that's not, once again, that's not about having more money. It's just achieving something that maybe your parents didn't. Like, for example, if your parents didn't go to college, then hopefully all their kids will go to college. that's a great accomplishment. And if your father was my son says, "Oh, Dad, you drive a nice car, whatever, and you have a nice house. Why don't I become, why don't I do something in the finance field?" And I said, it's okay if you do something in the finance field, but that's not your goal. Your goal is to do what, just because you saw me make some money one month, that doesn't mean I'm going to make the same money the next month, right? So instead, I want you to first focus on education and achieve the highest level of education that you could. And at that point, then you could decide what you want to do, and if the world of finance is what you want to be in, so be it. But don't do it just because your father did it, or your father's doing it and you think that he's doing so well, so that you want to just follow his footsteps. Do what makes you happy. So that's the advice that I give all the kids is, education is the key, and we have been given the opportunity in this country, free education till high schools, for all 4 years of high school. Every town, regardless what town you live in, the high school education is very strong. And if you do really well, you get into a good college, and you get good, scholarships. And the opportunity is so much here that if we let it go, the time frame of achieving something and not achieving something is so short, where the 4 years of high school goes like that, the 4 years of college goes like that, where you have to really put your head down and achieve that. And if you don't, you're going to probably regret one day that, oh, wish I could have done this, better. Or you'll be like me, where if I was given a wish, I want to go back to being a freshman in high school. Whereas some other people say, I want a big house or something. I want to be a freshman in high school.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's right. That's definitely true. Education, even no matter how successful you are, I think, education is definitely always should be your first priority. I think that's great advice, for the younger generation. They'll definitely, inshallah, learn a lot from it. So I'm glad you said that. And so, I want to thank you. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. I want to thank you. But before you say, before we finish this up, I want to also add one more thing, if you don't mind, Sarzan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully after this, the interview, hopefully they'll put my information, my email, my phone number, and I don't even mind if they put my cell phone number. Whereas any young adult or young child that wants to maybe get some advice or some direction, or maybe just talk to me on a few things, or that they need to maybe clarify, they're welcome to email me, call me, or text me, and it'll be my pleasure to help them, guide them, to hopefully make a decision better than what they are planning to do, or maybe give them some direction that they haven't thought about.
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely going to add that information there. And I'm sure many of the younger people will definitely love to reach out to you and get some advice from you too, personally. So that's a very good thing. We'll definitely add that for you. And so, inshallah, thank you so much, Ifraz uncle, for everything. Thank you for your time, giving this valuable interview with me here today. We definitely appreciate it here at TASMiNA. And I think that this is going to make a great addition to our project.
I appreciate your time and thank you so much. And I know that you're a busy guy, and congratulations on everything that has happened in your life in the last 2 weeks.
Exactly.
And I wish you the best in your future. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you. All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.